Hey guys, Virgin Vinyl with you again today. Today I've got one of my all-time music heroes, and that is, of course, Corea and his album, Three Quartets. Chick obviously is a legend of jazz piano and composition. Um, Truly one of the great geniuses of the 20th century, emerging from the really coming to prominence with after he joined Miles Davis's band and played on some of the most seminal albums in jazz rock history, like Bitches Brew. He would then, of course, go on to form one of the most important jazz rock fusion bands of all time, and one of the greatest, and that is Return to Forever. Return to Forever would start off in a much more subdued kind of way, more like electric jazz with like Latin overtones, but sort of like kind of more meditative and gentle for the most part. But then with the birth of the real jazz rock fire, with the emergence of Mahavishnu Orchestra, which was a real game changer. When they released Inner Mounting Flame, the explosivity of that album, the guitar fire of John McLaughlin, really bringing in that sort of Jimi Hendrix guitar fire that had so lit up the rock world. John McLaughlin really brought that into the jazz world with Mahavishnu Orchestra, along with the rest of the guys in that band, all playing on 200% all the time, fully extreme, and that influenced everybody else. And so Chick then, where he had, on the first two albums, not on the first album, on the second album, he had like Flora Purim singing on that album. And I love that album. I love those first two albums as well. They're great, but it's something different. I love Flora Purim too. She's got some really cool stuff. And her and her husband, Airto Moriera, are also legends. And hopefully I can get my hands on some of their amazing albums from the 70s, which are really like powerhouse albums as well. So Chick would then bring in Stanley Clark, the bass player genius, was already in the band. He would bring in initially Steve Gadd and Bill Connors on guitar, and that was the lineup for him to the Seventh Galaxy. But I think even Steve Gadd recorded tracks for that album, all the tracks for that album. But even though Steve and Chick would go on to have a very, very long and fruitful partnership over the years in many albums, including this one, that lineup there was something not quite right for Chick, or I can't remember what the reason was. I think it was maybe an obligations thing. I think that Steve Gadd had too many obligations and wouldn't have been able to tour with the band. So Lenny White was brought in, and that formed that era of Return to Forever was formed there. And of course, Bill Connors would leave, and then the incredible Al Di Meola would come on, and they would have sort of what's regarded as the classic Return to Forever lineup, and record, three genius albums. Anyway, Chick, while that was all going on, and as the 70s progressed, Chick would also write, a whole bunch of his own solo albums. I'm not sure if it was during just the dates aren't in my head right now, but Chick released a whole bunch of solo albums as well, which are really amazing, like the Mad Hatter, I really love, the Leprechaun, Secret Agent, Friends, a whole bunch of really, really great stuff. And a lot of those albums have Steve Gadd on them. Anyway, as it got closer to the 80s, like the whole fusion thing was kind of a little bit, it sort of seemed like to the artists at the time and to the music press and to a lot of people that it had kind of run out of steam, which is sad in a way, because there's so many great bands in the 70s and many of them didn't quite transition very well into the 80s. Chick, of course, being the prolific guy that he is and the musical genius that he is, was able to, he had his foot in so many ponds, or however I'm not sure what the expression is there, but he had so many projects going all the time, and so much in his brain to compose. The guy was a musical genius and a great composer that just wrote some of the best music ever. And so he was able to transition into the 80s pretty well. And of course, he would sort of, his second band, the Electric Band, would sort of be kind of the standard bearer, I guess, for 80s fusion, going forward, and that's a great band, and I've shown that on this channel before. But also, Chick, would also sort of do other things which were maybe like looking. So he was always looking forward, but also he would look back, and he would play a lot of. He loved to play more sort of already established forms of jazz. And on this album in 1981, he put together an absolute legendary lineup. You've got here, of course, the incredible Steve Gadd, who is one of the greatest drummers with sickest pocket, absolute legend. I love Steve Gadd's drumming, very, very cool, super cool drumming. Like, when you listen to a lot of jazz rock, fusion, or jazz, not even just jazz. If you're a real music fan, and especially if you play an instrument and you play in bands, you start to really hear and differentiate between certain instrumentalists, and drummers seem to be like the last one on the list for a lot of the casuals. As long as the beat's there, they don't really care. But when you get to know, when you really know your music, you realize that you got the neighbor screaming. When you get to know your music, you can really hear the difference between the character of each drummer. And Steve Gadd just oozes cool, to my ears anyway. Just one of the coolest drummers ever. And just, when you talk about tight, sick pocket, it doesn't get much better. You've also got on here, of course, Chick, say no more, Eddie Gomez, the great Eddie Gomez, the great upright bass player, incredible jazz bass player, has a long lineage of incredible albums that he's been part of. And then you've got on saxophone, probably the greatest saxophone player of the of the second half of the 20th century, and that is the great Michael Brecker. So this quartet absolutely doesn't get any better than that. I mean, that's just an incredible lineup. And then the music that Chick wrote for this album is so just absolutely. It has so much drive. It's so kicking. It's jazz, but it has the power of rock almost, like without it being jazz rock fusion or something. This is a jazz album, but it's just smoking. It just has so much energy and drive and attack. A big part of that is Steve, but most of it is from the incredible compositions of Chick, which are always, Chick is a sort of also a drummer, not professionally, but it could have been. He loves drums and he can play drums very well. Or could, unfortunately, he passed away. But it fused everything with it, all his compositions are. Excuse me, I'm still sick, so I'm a bit like. All his compositions were infused with rhythm. Like the natural understanding of rhythm that a drummer has. And his piano parts are often very syncopated and have these complex rhythms built in to the melodies as well. Very, very cool. It's one of the reasons why Chick is my favorite piano player. Absolutely love his playing. It's so cool. And Chick is like the master of comping. I mean, he's an incredible soloist, incredible. I mean, he's always searching. Chick is always searching. He never stops. The guy is the ultimate musician, really. He's always searching for a new line, a new statement, a new. He's always learning. He's always pulling from different inspirations and sources. He's looking backwards. He's looking forwards. He's pushing all the time. And as I've said on this channel, the most compelling thing for an artist for me is when an artist is pushing themselves always. And that's really exciting to listen to. So, but he's also the king of comping. So when other people take solos, he's not just sort of like playing the chords or highlighting the chords in the background. He's doing that, but he's also putting in little phrases and stuff that sort of will be like a little conversation with the soloist, and it makes the soloist, whoever's soloing, whether it's Michael Brecker or the bass, it makes them become more like going places that they wouldn't expect either. So it makes it more exciting and less predictable, and it's all over the place with this. Of course, on side 2 you have part 1 is dedicated to Duke Ellington, and part 2 is dedicated to the great John Coltrane, and it's beautiful stuff. This is probably of sort of like modern straight jazz. This is probably my favorite modern straight jazz album. It's just absolutely incredible stuff, and it's one of my favorite Chick Corea albums for sure. I mean, it's hard for me to say because I love so many of his albums. I love his fusion albums like Mad Hatter and stuff like that as well. But yeah, incredible. Anyway, that's it for today. If you like what I'm doing here, hit the subscribe button. It'd be much appreciated. Sorry, I'm so like lately, but this fucking virus just won't fuck off. I've been sick for like 2 weeks now, and I thought I was getting over it. And then like the last couple of days, it's just come back, and I'm like, So anyway, but I'm trying to do this every day with a record every day. I'm gonna run out of records eventually, because if you've been following what I'm doing here, you know that I'm new to collecting vinyl. That's the whole purpose of this channel, is I'm documenting my vinyl journey. I've got about 80 records, and I'm now up to like, 47, 48 videos. So, we'll see how we go. I'm probably going to run out of money, so I don't know how long I can do this every day, but I guess I'll have to think of some other interesting content to do. Maybe think of some topics or stuff like that, or maybe some videos of the local record shops and stuff like that. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.